Okay, good morning and namaste to all of you. We'll start with the uh, prayers by Karuna, and she will recite those shloks also, which we are going to discuss today. Okay, thank you, Karuna.
Thank you. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटन् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलः प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैर्वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजो गुणसमुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येन्नमिह वैरिणम् तस्मात् त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ नियम्य भरतर्षभ पाप्मानं प्रजहिह्येनै ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम् एवं बुद्धेः परं बुद्ध्वा संस्तभ्यात्मानमात्मना जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो कामरूपं दुरासदम् ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः त्रिविधं नरकस्येदन् द्वारनाशनमात्मनः कामः क्रोधस्तथा लोभस्तस्माद्देतत्त्रयं त्यजेत्. Thank you. Thank you, Hersh.
Thank you very much, Karuna. So today the verses Karuna recited, they are taking us towards these voices. So that's why the topic is lust. Lust. Okay. And in Sanskrit, Lord Krishna used the word calm for it. Calm. Lust is a very strong craving. It's like a hunger. It is such a strong word. You don't have lust for something which you don't really care about. So it's a strong, powerful desire. You lust for the things you deeply crave. It is like a psychological force which produces intense desire for something or circumstance while already having a significant amount of the desired object. Normally, we think lust is related to the sexual urge. But someone greedy for money is lustful for money. Someone gluttonous lusts for food. There could be a lust for power also. So people lust for all sorts of things. So it's an intense feeling that can dominate our thoughts. What is the root cause of lust? On the surface, it may seem that lack of self-control or the selfishness are the heart of lust. But these are the contributing factors. The deep root of lust is often emptiness in the individual. Even after having everything, you feel empty. So the individual may succumb to lust in a vain attempt to fill a vacancy in their life. And they are drawn towards that. And it could be about anything. That's why studying these scriptures, reading the direct message by these great saints or avatars, will tell us how to fill ourselves, how to feel complete, how to reach there where there's no emptiness, no craving for these worldly things. Because a root cause or the first one is calm, then off roots are a lot of other vices too, like anger, greed, ego, a lot of other vices come to. But the root cause or the main root is the calm, the lust. So that's why the topic is lust today. So the very first verse which Karuna recited, Lord Krishna is saying very clearly that it is calm. And the anger is born from this. It becomes all sinful. And know this as an enemy over here. Varinam. Vidhi enam ihi varinam. So this is our enemy. So it is a lust alone which is born of contact with the mode of passion actually. Rajogun. See, Rajogun samudbhava. So Rajsikta. And later on, it transforms into anger. Because when we cannot have something which we want, anger. He says, know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy. Mahashana, Mahapapma in this world. The Vedas use this word calm also. And in the Vedas, they explain that it's not just a sexual desires, which is a calm. It includes all desires for material enjoyment. Anything which keeps you away from your source, from your God. So lust shows itself in many ways. Vedas say it's the money also, physical cravings also, craving for prestige also, the desire for the power also. So remember, greed is nothing but intensified calm. And anger is frustrated calm. When you cannot have something, you get frustrated. So they're all together. So this calm is an inner Satan in us. And we have seen in other verses also, and in the Upanishads also we study, that it's nothing other than our own spiritual ignorance. That means we don't know ourselves. We are far away from this who we are, part of God, all knowing, all powerful, all loving. We just want to fill ourselves up with these material things or material circumstances. So desire is generally for something other than ourselves. So calm is always something other than ourselves. And when we don't get it, desired object, then the anger is producing. And a person under the sway of ignorance doesn't see it clearly. That's why it's called darkness also. It's not the light which we can turn on. It is the wisdom which we need to cultivate inside us. And that's what Lord Krishna is telling us in the next verse. He says, first control your senses. If you want to kill this sinful thing, the destroyer of knowledge and wisdom. So that means this calm or lust destroys our knowledge, our wisdom. So he says, where is it coming from? The sense organs, when they're attracted toward this matter, the sense objects. So he says, control it. Niyame, See in that verse, second verse which was recited, he says, Tasmat Tvam Indriyani, all your senses, Adau Niyame Bharat Rishabha. So control them. So without controlling these sense organs, we really cannot control this lust or the desires. Because this lust is a threat to both the knowledge and wisdom. We cannot say that we're going to just keep on running into this material world and we're going to run towards the God also. That's not how it works. Otherwise, it's like neither we are enjoying outside nor we are enjoying this eternal pleasure or peacefulness. So desire he called sinful in this verse. Pap manam. So lust is sinful in its grosser manifestations because it really tends to make us live and work satisfying our lower nature. And it persuades us to live a lower life. Even at its best, if somebody says, no, I have a sattvic desire. Lord Krishna says it's like a smoke covering the fire. Even a sattvic desire. He gives the example in this particular chapter to us. Because that smoke also, even though we can fan it away, but while the smoke is there, you cannot see the fire. It does not allow the full dawn of the infinite, which is the self in us. So even the sattvic lust also, we got to learn how to remove that. So Lord Krishna explains how to overcome lust. The root of all the evil, curb the desires of the senses, because that's how the whole thing starts. And that is the cause of the miseries. And miseries do not let us feel the peace, which is our real nature. If we think of ourselves as the soul and our only purpose is happiness of the soul, then it becomes easier to renounce lust. So that means the goal has to be very clear in our mind. And that's why we got to learn to use all these equipments which God gave us properly. Control the senses, control the mind, use the intellect, the higher intellect, and move towards the ultimate goal. Then the third verse she recited from the same chapter, and these verses are from chapter 3. Okay, Karma Yoga. Evam buddhe param buddhva samsatabhe atmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kama rupam durasadam. He says, by using these higher tools, you will know him. Him is the Atma or Paramatma. He says, who is superior to intellect? You will even rise above the intellect. Intellect is higher than the mind. Mind is higher than the senses, but higher than the intellect, he says. You will know him. Restraining the self by the self. Atmanam Atmana. O mighty armed, slay this enemy in the form of a calm lust. No doubt hard to conquer. So it is hard. We need to do a lot of sadhana, lot of practice. But first we have to have the knowledge. If we think that no, these desires are okay, but he is clearly telling us these desires, material desires are enemy. Don't fall prey to them. So this is a very special advice he is giving to Arjun, because Arjun demanded that. He wanted to know. So through knowledge alone is ignorance ended. Knowledge alone. And where do we get the knowledge? From the scriptures, from the gurus. Then after getting the knowledge, we live our life according to that knowledge. Then we'll experience it. So this knowing really means experiencing it. It's not just a theoretical knowledge he's talking about. Sure, first we got to have a theoretical knowledge, but then we have to assimilate that knowledge. Then we have to live that knowledge. So this process has been explained many, many times in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures also for us. But we got to remember the soul is a part of God. It is divine in nature. That's why it seeks the divine bliss. It is our divine subject. And all the objects of the world, no matter how beautiful they are all material. They are all objects. We must exert, we must train our intellect to think in this manner. Again and again, we got to repeat this. And that's how we learn to control our mind, control our senses. See, senses are grosser than the mind. So that's why first control your senses. Something grosser can be easily controlled. Mind is subtler than the senses. Little hard to control. So first control your senses. That's what he's telling us. He even gives us the example of the chariot. In that analogy, horses are the senses. The chariot, the structure of the chariot is our body. The reins which are controlling the horses, that's our mind. And a person who's holding the rein, that is the intellect. So higher should control the lower. If we want this journey to end at its ultimate goal. The next verse from chapter 5 was recited for us today. He says the enjoyments that are born of contacts are only generators of pain. Why? Because they have a beginning and an end. The wise do not rejoice in them. We are the seeker of the ultimate goal. Sure, in this life, the physical life, we have to live with this body. We have to learn to use this body and our mind and the intellect, but we got to remember that these enjoyments which we are feeling from the contact of the senses and the sense objects, they have a beginning and an end. That's why it's good to remember that law of diminishing utility. It really works in all our experiences. That's why the first unit of joy in attaining something, it soon becomes stinking actually. So just like a first piece of chocolate, sure it tastes good. But if somebody says you got to finish the whole box, we know what happens. And even if we have the appetite to eat the whole box, then box is empty. And that's what the pain is. Either we get tired of that object or that object is gone because it's not endless. This is the fundamental truth he is giving us in this verse over here. Finite things can only torture us with hopes of getting a more satisfying joy. And they whip us along this path of sensuousness, making us pant in sheer exhaustion. Sure, we want bliss, we want happiness, we want peace, but we got to look for it at the right place. Material pleasures cannot satisfy the soul. Why? There are three reasons. First, the worldly pleasures are finite. So the feeling of deficiency remains inherent in them. The second reason is worldly pleasures are temporary and bliss of God is eternal. The third is worldly pleasures are insentient. They are jarred by themselves. When a person begins to enjoy divine bliss, actually the mind loses all taste for material pleasures. It's almost like a no sane person will enjoy something made out of mud when he can have the real dessert. So the sane person, a wise person, real seeker of this, the knower of this, will not seek for pleasure in these material things. Then the one more verse that is from chapter 16, which was recited today. Because a lot of information, lot of knowledge in this scripture, just like any other scripture also. So in this verse, Lord Krishna is telling us that there are three gates which take us towards the, he uses the word narka, the hell. That means the lower, it just slips us down. Wherever we are, it just slips us. These are the three gates, and we got to be careful. And what are these three gates? Lust, anger, and greed. Kamaha, krodha, tatha lobha. And very strongly he says, Tasmat etat trayam tyachet. Abandon these three. But as I said earlier, it really starts with Kam, though, with lust. Krodh and lobh, they are the offshoots. A person who gets angry very easily has a lot of desires. More the desires, more the anger. And the lobh also, when the desires get fulfilled, you want more and more. That's why I was telling you earlier, this, no matter how much a person has, the lustful person wants more. Wants more. It's almost like a person who's a millionaire, very happy until he meets a billionaire. Wants more. That's lust. Not finding satisfaction, here they are. And our rishis, they say the satisfaction, the contentment, the santosh is the greatest pleasure. So these three gates, origin of the demonic disposition, lust, anger, and greed. So together, lust, anger, and greed are the foundations from which the demonic vices develop. Where do they fester? They fester in the mind. And they make it a suitable ground for a lot of other vices also. There are a lot of vices, but these three, and the beginning is from lust, the kama. A person, a lustful person, can never feel satisfied. Even when the desires have been met, he will always want more and more. Hunger for more. And if the desires are throttled, the disappointments brings into him an anger, and he suffers the consequent wretchedness. So, tasmat etat trayam tyajeta. Therefore, one should forsake these three. So now I will stop it here and request Urmil Chawla to finish it up with her thoughts on this subject of calm, the lust. Thank you, Urmil. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Herji. You've already covered everything so well. Thank you. And even though I have read everything beforehand, I've learned so much more every time you talk to us, teach us. So what I have the take on this lust is, as you said, it's a strong desire, passionate desire for material things, not only sex. Lust could be passionate desire for drinking, foods, money, power, fame, and you name it. Such lust is destructive. Lust detracts you from the path of God. What happens then? Lusty person loses his peace, contentment, and happiness. A person full of lust becomes the servant of desires. Lust simply means lack of control on the five senses, the mind, and then the intellect. Lust, along with greed and anger, makes the mind impure. Lust is addictive, like cocaine. Lust is some kind of madness. Intellect loses its ability to discriminate. Seduction through advertisements lure people, and it motivates them to buy products, and these products increase your yearning and greed, and the yearnings multiply. Anger is wisdom clouded with dark smoke, as you said. So eventually what happens is that lust causes suffering and lose rationality. The three together lead to sinful activities, and damnation is the only result. These three traits increase attachment. They are like mental poison. Solution to controlling the sense desires, greed, and lust. 1. Nip it in the bud. Regulate and control the senses. Slay the destroyer of your true self-knowledge, and which becomes an obstacle on your journey to self-realization and higher level of consciousness. Antidote to lust is overcome delusion. Learn how to not let lust overpower you. How do you learn? Perform righteous actions. Learn the techniques of controlling and purifying the mind. For that, acquire self-knowledge. Do your yoga, pranayam, and meditation. Get involved in activities that are for the benefit of others. Learn to see the joy of selfless service. A mind will clear cut. Wisdom always comes up with positive solutions. So, knowledge, wisdom, and then your brain and your intellect will come up with good solutions to overcome lust. And how do you get that wisdom and act on it? As you said, develop willpower with determination and resolve, and transform your thoughts into the positive direction. Put all the effort you can. And it is the intensity of the desire to get over this thing that is eating you up, the lust, the anger, and the regret after that. Examine yourself by contemplating. Then you will pay more attention to the Almighty, the higher power, with faith, surrender to God, and then these demonic qualities will start to vanish. Spontaneously, they will vanish. When we engage in God, the supreme lower level activities automatically disappears. You don't have to sit and look at them. They will happen once you are so busy reading the scriptures and applying whatever you have learned. You have no time to get your desires flare up. So our topics are mostly to understand lust, anger, and greed and find solutions. It's very fascinating that in the Bhagavad Gita, some way or somehow, Lord Krishna has a solution for everything that we have been studying topic for topic. To conclude my thoughts on this, I summarized whatever we learned today in a little poem that I wrote myself because I couldn't find anything that was worthy of being read otherwise. So here I go. Lust, anger, and greed, the three gates to hell. Desires seduced and swayed you to be in its clutches robust. Along with its three partners in crime, greed, anger, and lust. Lust and greed promising name, fame, power, and lots of money. All these deluded pleasures coated with nectar tasted like honey. You were so happy, so proud, and you danced with joy like a lunatic. Intoxicated with your spirit's high and addictive habits, you got sick. Your primeval passion swelled and became an inferno with ferocity. The raging fires of your mode of passion consumed your dignity. Oh, these three villains, greed, anger, and lust, had tricked and trapped you. Like hungry wolves, they gulped the deluded you and ripped you in two. Such was the result of that lethal mix of earthly pleasures and pain, leaving you derailed on your journey of self-realization, now in vain. Devoid of contentment, doesn't that sweet nectar now taste like poison? The bitter taste of greed, anger, and lust have taught you a lesson. But it is never too late to break away from the clutches of greed and lust. To know true happiness, transforming into the mode of goodness is a must. Gratification derived from sense objects are good for today and tomorrow. But in the long run, those choices certainly leave you feeling empty and full of sorrow. Hold tight the reins of your five senses and the restless monkey mind. Control your mind by practicing meditation, a solution, one of a kind. Slash and shake off the entrapments of the material world, so finite. Immerse yourself in self-knowledge and the divine bliss of the infinite. Restore your mental strength, intellect, and vitality, and make your mind pure. Getting detached from sensual lures and attaching to God is the cure. Learn to serve the needy with humility, compassion, and selflessness. Be charitable and austere and make sacrifices to feel real happiness. With resolve and willpower, you will overcome greed, anger, and lust. And by surrendering to God, His grace will make these enemies bust. Thank you. And that's my take on
Thank you
today's.
very much, Urmil. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, Urmil. Wow.